All right, today we will be discussing Barack Obama and his administration's foreign policy in the lens of Obama's liberal and realist approaches to foreign relations. The Obama administration inherited a war in Afghanistan, a war in Iraq, and a global war on terror, all launched by Congress during the term of the Bush administration in the aftermath of the September 11th attacks. Upon taking office, Obama called for a new beginning in relations between the Muslim world and the United States, and he discontinued the use of the term war on terror in favor of the term overseas contingency operation, cleaning up the language a little bit. Obama pursued a lighter footprint with the military strategy in the Middle East that emphasized special forces, drone strikes, as well as diplomacy over large ground troop occupations, just kind of contradicting the Bush administration, just get boots on the ground kind of thing. The Middle East remained important to American foreign policy. That was its focal point. However, Obama did pursue a pivot to East Asia, and we'll get to talking about this with the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Obama also emphasized closer relations with India. He was actually the first president to visit the country twice. These are a couple examples of this internationalist, diplomatic, multilateral approach to foreign policy. Obama was also an advocate for nuclear nonproliferation. He negotiated successful deals with Iran and Russia during his time. In 2015, Obama came out with the Obama Doctrine, saying we will engage, but we will preserve all of our capabilities. And I think this doctrine showed Obama as this liberal internationalist going against isolationism, and really showcased the realism and liberal interventionism. Now looking at the wars that Obama inherited, besides the economic crisis that he took on after the Bush administration, the big two things were the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan. An early opponent of Bush's decision to invade Iraq in 2003, Obama promised during the 2008 election campaign to withdraw American troops as soon as possible. In February of 2009, he announced a plan to bring troop levels down from 160,000 to 50,000 by August 2010, including the removal of all combat forces. The remaining troops he added would be withdrawn by the end of 2011. For several years, the withdrawal proceeded smoothly, in part because Obama was able to build on the gains achieved by Bush's surge of 20,000 additional troops in 2007, which had helped the Iraqi government restore a measure of somewhat stability to the country. By 2012, only 150 American troops were in Iraq. This is a number that remained level and steady for about 3 years. Obama's other war-related campaign promise was to step up the U.S. commitment in Afghanistan as well, in order to keep the Taliban regime from regaining power and allowing al-Qaeda to use the country as a terrorist base of operation. And soon after taking office, Obama granted the military's request, initially made at the end of the Bush presidency, to send an additional 21,000 troops to Afghanistan, raising our military presence there to about 60,000. One of the big successes of the Obama campaign was the elimination of terrorist leader Osama bin Laden. And even after soldiers killed bin Laden in May 2011 and began disengaging from Iraq and Afghanistan, the president expanded the strategic deployment of special forces as well as drones in another kind of what was called a secret war against suspected terrorists. This led to Obama's joint action with NATO to help Libyan rebels that eventually ended up successfully ending the reign of Muammar Gaddafi. During the first year of his second term, Obama was determined to take the United States off of this perpetual war footing. It had been a long time that we'd been meddling in the Middle East with this war on terror, which had been retermed by Obama. There was definitely a war fatigue in the country, and there was resistance from both sides in terms of Democrats and Republicans to additional commitments in the Middle East. And I think this led to Obama's decision to not launch missile strikes in Syria in support of rebels fighting the Assad regime. And this is in the light of Assad using chemical weapons and Obama's red line that was crossed. So calling off even a planned attack on Syria at essentially the last minute, Obama referred this matter to Congress, and Congress really didn't have any interest in endorsing this course. And in a matter of days after that, Putin offered to persuade Syria to get rid of its chemical weapons, and Obama worked with Putin on that to achieve that. Now looking at Obama as a liberal, Obama as a realist, Obama said, since World War II, some of our most costly mistakes came not from our restraint, but from our willingness to rush into military adventures without thinking through the consequences, without building international support and legitimacy for our action, without leveling with the American people about the sacrifices required. This was definitely more of a hands-off approach. This is kind of Obama wanting to not put work onto these other countries, but it's in the vein of the U.S. can't solve the entire world's problems. We're not the end-all, be-all freedom maker. And this is definitely a tenet of Obama's and his administration's realism. There, obviously, in the East Asian region, China had been rapidly growing as an economic force, and Obama kind of pivoted from the Middle East to focusing on this region of Asia, and it led to increased investment, diplomatic investment, economic investment, strategic and otherwise in this region, and this led to the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which other countries such as Mexico, other countries were involved in. And within this realm of kind of liberal realism, there's debate that some factors can allow states to safely shift concerns from survival via self-help to welfare via mutually beneficial cooperation. That's usually the common denominator there. Obama was quoted as saying, "The United States will use military force unilaterally if necessary when our core interests demand it. America should never ask permission to protect our people or our homeland." But he definitely identified this as a last resort, and it was the least preferred tool for ensuring security and pursuing interests abroad. Some of the successes of the Obama administration, most certainly the withdrawal of troops from Iraq, getting rid of Osama bin Laden, The Iran nuclear deal that was reached definitely spoke to Obama's liberal and somewhat pacifist approach. And maybe for lack of a better term, I say pacifist because it's that kind of realist approach to not just going wild and using force with them. Some of the failures that came from this, the Taliban did not end up really getting put off course too much. There's still a stronghold. They've just split into different factions. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict grew more sour. The Israeli settlements expanded. Hamas ended up growing. Gaza was pretty. They got the rough end of the deal there. And even in Libya, where the Gaddafi regime was severed, there is still an active Islamic State, and Syria is still in a pretty bad shape. There's also the Assad regime that was able to cross this red line without penalty, and this led to, I think, 11 million Syrian refugees that have been trying to escape this war-torn country. The liberal diplomatic approach definitely helped our image abroad. This Obama and his administration were willing to work with people. They were willing to, as I'd mentioned before, it was a multilateral approach. There was just more that he was willing to engage in, rather than America's always right, let's only do our own thing. China, as well as other countries in the East Asian region, definitely benefited by the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And also unrelated to that, Cuba warmed up. This was during Obama's administration. Cuba had its first formal diplomatic visit from a president since the 60s. Some of the losers, I guess, from the Obama administration, people of the Middle East. It's not really better over there. It's still a bit of a mess politically and economically. This kind of comes after Obama, but the Democrats, they were able to maintain somewhat control during his administration, and I think Republicans at large grew very tired of this, and where the pendulum swung so far to the left per se with Obama, that almost forced it swinging the complete opposite direction, and I think that correlation led to Trump. In conclusion, bringing an end to the war in Iraq, withdrawing troops, getting rid of bin Laden and Gaddafi, those were successes. Those were, it's simultaneously withdrawing the troops and using force to get rid of these enemies. It was a good thing. It was, and I think that spoke to Obama's realism as well. The internationalist standpoint helped our image diplomatically. It helped us with our allies and kind of gave us, brought us back into good standing after the Bush years. And again, mentioning the pendulum swing, this went the complete opposite way in the Trump years. It wasn't all great. There were drone strikes. People died. There were millions and millions of refugees, specifically because of the Syrian conflict. But overall, the liberal approach that was taken by the Obama administration helped rebuild some of the stronger alliances and pushed the country in a good direction to meet some of the new challenges that have been coming up in the 21st century. And here are the works cited. Thank you for your time.